when I meet the doctor, once I prove my worth. And then I meet the doctor, what I've waited for since birth. And with all his doctor wisdom, by my looks he won't be blinded. Do you think the doctor is dumb? Or like Oods, he's so small-minded? No, he'll say to me, I see who you truly are, Jack, a man on whom I can rely. And that's how we'll begin, the doctor and I.
Hello, faithful viewer. This time last year, I checked in, I did a checkpoint, I tried to count the top 10 best stories of 2024 before the year was even over. This one's a little bit late because it honestly took a while for Doctor Who stories that I like to get out there, and for me to actually start listening to them again. My fandom dipped a bit in 2025, I don't know why, hey, I was out, did I miss anything? Art festival after art festival, I met a rare famed gnome, Tron Ares came out, and I discovered Calacanceroi, Greek Christmas goblins, so that took a while as well, that took a large chunk out of my year too. Doctor Who's not been high on the agenda, but I have passively been absorbing new Doctor Who, because it's always getting made. Fingers crossed. Here are mine and others' top 10.
When we are hand in hand, the doctor and I.
Early on in the year, I swore off Russell T Davies stories. I didn't want to see him anymore. And then we got about halfway through, and then I realised, oh, actually, throw out the whole thing. It's rotting. What did I watch? I watched Lux, because somebody told me my love for old animation would make it worthwhile. It wasn't. I saw Lucky Day, because I've always got time for more Peak McTie brainworms. And I thought Lucky Day was pretty entertaining. If I had to pick one story just for me, like a highlight of the season, it would probably be something as metaphorically confused as Lucky Day. Even though it comes from a neoliberal nightmare of a writer, it was frankly just a lot more entertaining than Kablam was. And then there was The Story in the Engine, which I think is a great point to jump off the show. It's not perfect, it's far from perfect, but it feels like the show doing what the show should be doing. Big ideas, big imagination, running headfirst into the usual constraints of Doctor Who. That's fine, we love. But because it presents itself as an actually competent episode, I engage with it more, and so I have more criticisms and I have more missed opportunities. Why are we ending on another clip show when we're being told this is about other stories? When we had this line earlier.
You want a story about weeping angels and ice warriors, but nothing is more vivid than an ordinary life.
Yeah, bullshit. Is this really the best way you had to integrate Joe Martin? Hell, if the story engine needs potential stories, make it future Doctors. Make it potential Doctors. Use that little cartoon thing you introduced earlier and show a bunch of silhouettes and Doctors all flitting around. It would be more dignified than what this episode ends up doing. But despite that, everyone I know is crazy inspired by this thing, so I have to put it here. It is the story of 2025. I asked for new voices, I asked for writers from different backgrounds and different mediums, and lo and behold, you get new ideas, you get new cultures, you get new insights, with some of the problems of writing for TV. Elms writes it as a play, and it feels like a play, but then in a play, you would have every character in this room established and going through a little story of their own, but we've got lots of hangers-on. Yeah, it's a very unpredictable story. I don't think it knows what it's doing with its runtime or pacing, but I think some people are charmed by that as well. It's something actually different, so the fact that it ends on yet another clip show almost bars it from being on here. But am I really going to be the friend in the Doctor Who circles saying, no, it's Lucky Day? And whatever weird establishment apologia McTie thinks he's doing with units, no thank you. I'll go with the story that doesn't hate me and my demographic. And yeah, they're both messes, but ultimately this is Doctor Who we're talking about. Give me the artistic mess any day of the week. Dracula! Paul Mars, in my head, can do no wrong. Alongside Scott Gray, the two of them are my favourite Doctor Who writers, period. I saved Dracula for a couple of days before Halloween. I just finished it. And I can happily say that it's one of the fluffiest Doctor Who stories I've ever experienced. A vampire is on the loose. On what they hope is going to be a holiday, the Doctor and his companions arrive in a quiet, unassuming seaside town called Whitby in the first year of the 19th century. A lot of the joy of this one is the setting and the pace. It's the first Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara. They're going to just sort of explore and hang out a bit. The Doctor busts out some psychic currency, and they get a room in the Halloween Hotel, where they encounter the real Van Helsing and accompany him to see a play tonight of the story of Dracula, all while disappearances are happening in the town. Tonally, I think you've already got a pretty good read on what type of story this is, and it never has to stray too far from that. This is a caper. We know that Mars is a nostalgia-first writer, but unlike other genre pastiche writers, always finds the charm, always succeeds in that. The first TARDIS team is such a likeable crew. I don't think they're a particularly hard gang to write, because of their distinct personalities and tone. Yeah, nails it. But he does something that not a lot of writers do. He remembers that this gang weren't very good at it yet. All the four of them manage to do is really make a mess of things in the story. They survive the past. They don't save the day. My favourite thing about Dracula is that the gang are kind of useless. They make everything they touch worse. The Doctor invites Van Helsing into the TARDIS, which is, as he realises, a big no-no, especially in this era. This is one at his most braggadocious, playful, impish. He's described as a pixie a couple of times, and that really winds him up. Frankly, an adorable book.
I'm not sure I follow this at all, muttered the Doctor. First it's made up, then Dracula's real. First it's a novel, and then you're talking about films and plays. No, I don't understand this one bit.
The Doctor doesn't know anything yet. He's an old man and a little baby. I think you can tell how much joy there is in writing this material. I own all of the books in this range, but I've mostly been neglecting them. I'm going to fix that next year. I would take 50 more of these. I really hope the rumours aren't true that they are slowing these down. Quite honestly, what little active fandom I have left is in the BBC books, so please keep them coming. It was the best D&D campaign ever. I think I would have taken another twist, though. Van Helsing, in particular. There's a couple chapters in here where I was certain that Van Helsing was going to portray a certain character. But no, he's adorable. And so is Dracula. He's here. If there's any flaw to this book, and listen, I don't demand much of this, is that I think Mars has such unadulterated love for what he writes. Maybe he loves his source material too much. The crossover, he loves it too much, that we don't deviate, and every story of his recently, including the Marco Polo sequel on this box set, not too much in the way of complication. It is the past as you remember it, cuter than you remember it, and it's absolutely lovely. But I've seen the cheeky postmodernity fade a little bit. This is an earnest caper, and I probably shouldn't be cynically projecting things onto it. Just let Doctor Who go to the Halloween Hotel and battle the Vampire Queen. God damn it, Sam. Lovely little book, please read. Hey. Oh, Vampire Weekend, starring Jodie Whittaker and Mandy McGill. Another era of the show comes to big finish, and I think a lot is riding on this one. Even though it might not be its most popular, this range is where you can bring in a massive new demographic, who might have not been listening to Doctor Who audios before this. Vampire Weekend, and to a lesser extent Return of the Doctor, are exactly what they need to be. Fast, funny, charismatic, giving the two big gets their flowers. I always knew, this is just further vindication, that I do love these characters on pretty much every other medium than telly. Yaz is back on Earth, getting some time away from the TARDIS, tending a friend's wedding. The Doctor gate crashes, brings a bunch of chickens. 10 minutes later, we're all doing Sheffield-style sinners. There is another vampire amongst us. No huge points of originality. This story gets by completely on letting the Doctor and Yaz be lovely characters. I believe in Yaz more as a human now that I've met her friends and her relationships to her friends, and we're focusing stories on these characters' flaws. Something that was sorely missing from actual exploration in the TV run. Oh yeah, these characters aren't perfect on TV, don't get me wrong, but we actually have stories that want to investigate that now. Return of the Doctor felt a bit like my own fanfic from a couple years back. When the two of them butt heads, it felt very Blackest Friday. I felt kind of vindicated. Yeah, I can write Doctor Who. I have no doubt that these stories will continue to give fans of these characters, like myself, everything they wanted from the first go-round. Big Finish are a fan wish fulfillment machine, and yeah, it's nice to think that these are the concerns they had right out the gate. This is what we actually want to do with these characters. A couple years late, admittedly, but if Mission 1 was make them human, and Mission 2 was give them actual conflict that we have to address for once, bing bing bing. I really, really liked getting to see these two fleshed out. It's no rich character piece. Hell, the first one is essentially a comedy story. But these two are going to really, really benefit from capable writers putting them in different scenarios. Big Finish might be in for a bit of a shift in the years ahead. It's a sad truth that any of their main ranges could come to an end very, very suddenly for sad real-world reasons. So I think a lot depends on this potential new audience. Jodie and Mandip, please just lock in, make as many stories for these guys as they say. They don't even have to be good. I will truly listen to every single one. Sooner or later, they will bow and they will make them kiss. It feels so good to enjoy the 13th Doctor, as portrayed by one of the most talented actors in the country, Jodie Whittaker. Number 4. Things have been a bit odd with the comics this year. As in, there are none. Your only real bet is to head over to Doctor Who magazine, where they currently have Alan Barnes still doing his comic book thing. I'm yet to read The Monster Makers, but everything after Ruby leaves is really quite average. Solo, one-shot shooty stories that go in one ear and exit the other. We've been on a wild alien hunt. We went to a planet with no people. Gripping stuff. We met this thing.
The Doctor and I
guess I'm gonna try to talk about his mad pranks, because it's the hard fantasy that we were promised in Rusty Davies too. Done pretty effortlessly.
Pay no heed to my feet, blue box-born queen. Tell me your name, and which worlds you've seen. Play no tricks on me, I am the trick. Catch me now, but you're the best to be quick.
There's something about Arch that just lends itself to comics, okay? I don't have to think of Alan Cummings' voice or anything. His mad pranks pulls off Doctor Who camp without ever having to use the C word. It's not trying to be camp, it just is. The Doctor and Belinda wander off into some Stockbridge woods and end up embroiled in witch trials and Midsummer Night's Dream references and flying sci-fi orbs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, finally, I screamed when I saw this. At the 11th hour, we snuck it in. Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who got his orb. As foretold, as it was promised. All those years ago on the Graham Norton show. I like this story only when I think of the TV stuff as comparison. I never usually have to do that, but if this was on TV, I would probably prefer this to whatever you guys are watching over there. The art is absolutely phenomenal. Alan Barnes is meeting the TV stuff and getting more laid back and fruity with it as well. There's one or two really properly, truly cringe modern day references shoved into the voice of historical characters from the past. Hate that shit. Put that away. But this is just default Doctor Who, and this is a year where I realised I like default Doctor Who. I like middle-of-the-road Doctor Who, as long as it steers away from the tropes. And this, admittedly, this is a bit too weird and unpredictable to have any real tropes. So, yeah, here's Mad Pranks. It's probably the best you'll do. Titan Comics, please sell the IP at this point. Actually, do I like this one? I feel like I'm talking myself out of liking this, and I just like some art, a neat villain, the comic medium in general, and yeah, some long-awaited orb action. I feel vindicated. I don't feel entertained. Yeah, well, that's the best we're getting this year. That counts for quality. Next! At the same time that we get Jodie and Mandip, we get The Master and Joe Martin Fugitive Doctor. It's absolutely Christmas. These are potentially the new big ranges for Big Finish in the years ahead. I hope so. And with Joe Martin, they've got absolute carte blanche. I don't know how it didn't break the internet more that we have a Fugitive Doctor series now ongoing. Is the buzz really not that high? The first set had me worried. It definitely had me worried because it was very interchangeable. This wasn't anything new. This could have been a CIA story like they're currently doing for the second Doctor right now in Big Finish as well. It's almost identical, even down to the Time Lord Division member chasing her. It's a good set. Stories 2 and 3, Baba Yaga and the mountain. The mountain one was the good one. These were fun outings, and Joe Martin is loving it. She is putting in a Tennant amount of energy into every single line delivery. And for once, she has a couple lines that aren't just grunting or telling people to shut up. No, we have our first quiet moments with the Fugitive Doctor. So it kind of felt like, oh, these are average stories. But hello, Doctor Who. I'm meeting a new incarnation, and it feels great. She is jaded, she's young, but already very tired of everything. And that makes her naive. She's a naive character. Because these two sets are a chase. She's being chased by her arch nemesis, Cosmo. Cosmogon didn't impress me at first. Like I said, Big Finish have a lot of characters like this. The female cop assigned to prisoner runaway Doctor Who. Hereafter, believe it or not, is another vampire story. What is going on this year? Doctor Who's main baddie at this point is vampires. That's a broke canon joke. But yeah, the second set it's a bit special. Dead or Alive. It has Flying Solo, the Junkyard Loop, which is not going to give you the lore fix you think it will. It's the forgettable one of the set. And Hereafter. The Time Lord playing cops and robbers with her. I think she was introduced in Coda. Who remembers? But this story shows some interest in her, and she becomes, honestly, the more sympathetic character of the two of them. And when they landed that, when they really pulled that off and had the two characters, cops and robbers, bond a little bit, I thought, oh yeah, okay, you guys have got something now. The Fugitive Doctor has her own baddie, and we're fleshing out her own lore. There's no answers, really. If you're going to listen to these to find out something about a timeline, you're definitely going to be disappointed. But I think Dead or Alive shows a lot of potential. The first story on the set really touched me. It's about a RAF pilot in World War II called Mahinder Singh. The whole story is a chase. It takes place in the air. They get thrown through time. They meet Alexander the Great, as this poor guy is forced to witness the Amritsar massacre that shaped his family, with these two overbearing, powerful Time Lords talking about him like he's a paradox. And trust me, he has every reason to go down in the Spitfire and interfere in history. Maybe he should become a paradox. You can throw any Doctor in here, but the little glimpses you get at new characters emerging and a potential new corner for Big Finish, yeah, please keep giving me quiet Fugitive Doctor.
Hey, Sam here, formerly of Doctor Who Twitter. You might remember me from some Rogan drawing of a Cyberman or a crusty Dalek. I am alive and I'm still making stuff. I just use Instagram instead. Let's talk about ideas. I mean real ideas, big ideas. What are they? Where do they come from and where are they going? Do you have ideas, or do ideas have you? Do they pilot you, control you, use your voice and hands to exact their will upon the physical world? Are you a conduit, a medium, a tool? Sounds hardcore, a bit wacky, almost like a good episode of... Well, earlier this year, the countercultural philosopher and writer John Higgs published his book exploring this very possibility. And strangely, it's formally presented as a biography about Doctor Who. Exterminate Regenerate is a book that argues the point that the idea of Doctor Who is alive. Oh yeah, all those fourth wall breaks last series, those weren't cheap gags. They were an attempt of communication. And RTD, he's a tool. A method for which this sentient idea manifests itself onto your TV screen and spreads to your mind, and so on and so on. Cultivating culture like a virus. Well, that all sounds a bit sinister, but the way John describes it in the book isn't. He examines it more like a religion, full of different popes, dodgy priests, and warring sects, an attempt to get closer to this immortal and immaterial ideal that is Doctor Who.
As part of the research, John spoke to the renowned beard owner, wizard, and inventor of the Time War, Alan Moore, about his hypothesis for inspiration, which he calls idea space. Moore posits a model where our interior selves inhabit a landscape where they may encounter landmarks and objects known as ideas. What happens when a single continuing story is built out of the dream stuff from 1,000 minds across TV, audio, comic, and fan fiction? Drawing, paintings, music, theatre, blogs, criticism, and Funko Pops. A media-spanning organism comprised of a multitude of cells made up of symbols. Higgs uses Moore's model to hypothesize that ideas can, and in fact routinely do, become independent from their original thinkers, growing and breeding and multiplying, colonizing minds and piloting them for their own means of survival. Doctor Who doesn't really have a single creator. It is an ever-evolving mimetic amalgamation of filters through which a platonic ideal exacts itself onto the physical world as art, from which it can germinate and continue the cycle. Tell me, do you have ideas, or do ideas have you? Is this religion or a new meta-ecology?
Oh god, you thought Paul Mars was postmodern. Hi everyone, I got sick of editing, so we're just gonna FaceTime this one. This is George, whose media opinion you can trust. Look at the guy. He is an adult, he's an intellectual and an expert. And we read The Zygon Invasion. Now George, I thought The Zygon Invasion came out in 2015. What's it doing in this list?
Well, we both decided to read it this year in preparation for a Who track we're going to be recording hopefully quite soon.
We're little men with big thoughts.
We've been speaking about Zygon Inversion for a while, just between the two of us. Its relevance, I would say ebbs and flows, but at this point I just feel like we're drowning in its relevance, really. So we sort of thought, we should do Who track, and then Interstellar Song Contest came out and we thought maybe I just don't want to do that.
The SparkNotes version of that video effectively is Harness knows what he's doing. He knows he's got a British main character dealing with metaphors of international conflicts. This is a disaster waiting to happen, as we've seen in recent scripts. But Harness definitely avoids it. Not only does he enforce early on, he adds a line to the novelization saying, the Doctor is not British. The Doctor's not human, and we have to remember that. And I'm like, if you say so, that's very interesting what you're trying to get into there, Harness. Something that doesn't land on telly for me is if I am British colonialism incarnate, if I am Britain today and I'm telling all the other nations what to do, then look onto me, Doctor Who, as a failed example. You don't want to be like me. You don't want to be like Britain. And I think that's kind of compelling. I think that's maybe a very responsible thing for Doctor Who to be doing when he's making these big speeches about things that actually matter. I'm wearing a birthday hat, but I am talking about very serious topics. Look at the two of us.
We no, don't draw attention. Don't draw attention to it. This is serious stuff. Okay. When you talk about Zygon Inversion being a story about international conflict, I think the assumption there is that it's going to be a bit of a Pertwee story. It's going to be quite intellectualized, quite academic. But what I love about this is that it's so filled with heart. It's so empathetic. It's the most New Who version of this story you could get. And that's really, really emphasized in the book. It's all about, look at these young radicals who are, you know, maybe they're a stand-in for ISIS. Maybe nowadays they're a stand-in for Hamas.
Or just emigration en masse in general.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Can they assimilate into human society? Apparently not.
When you don't adequately prepare them, when you bring them in on a bus and dump them somewhere where they...
There's so much backstory in this. What's happening in Truth or Consequences, where all the Zygons were dumped in America, is so much more interesting than the main plot.
And I think we've both absolutely loved it. And I think it does what these target novelizations have to do. Like, what makes them... gives them meaning to exist is to expand on the material that's already in the episodes, not just retell it.
Every time a new one comes out, I have to ask friends, is this just something to go on my shelf, or has a writer actually reevaluated his work? Has Peter Harness sat with this for 10 years and added to it? And holy hell, has he?
Yeah, 100%. So the main thing that I'm thinking about are those extra scenes with Bonnie in Truth and Consequences, shortly following what took place in Day of the Doctor. And we get inklings of that in the episode, but it's expanded so beautifully and it provides such powerful context that really, really makes these sort of young Zygon radicals far more relatable, far more understandable. There are so many boundaries when it comes to TV with budget and time and all that, but and particularly for the likes of Peter Harness, who, you know, has a lot on his mind.
Politically, I don't think Peter Harness could broadcast on BBC One all of the thoughts he has in his mind.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be possible.
That's not a negative. Yeah, Doctor Who has to take culpability, takes responsibility. The big hero hype aura moment happened, and it didn't help. It wasn't actually a serious solution to the problem. It turns out that shit goes systemic, and wow, that's Doctor Who really growing up a bit and doing it responsibly in a way that other stories this year haven't. Doctor Who can wear the big boy boots and tell adult stories, and yeah, it's all in this book for my money. All right, I'm gonna minimize myself, and you're gonna natter for a bit about what did you bring?
Fear, Death by Water by Emily Cook. So last year, the real standout with the New Adventure books was Eden Rebellion. I know we're not talking about that. I just recommend everybody go read that as well. It's basically about how places like Barbados have been turned into just tourism states for Europe and for America. It's really, really compelling, interesting stuff. The real standout this year for me was Fear, Death by Water by Emily Cook. It's a celebrity historical, which they usually don't resonate with me. But I think what was different with this one is that it was doing a bit more, I think, like the Chibnall style of celebrity historical, where it's not necessarily somebody that the average Brit will be familiar with.
New history off syllabus.
Yeah, it's about Grace Darling, who was the daughter of a lighthouse keeper who saved, loads of lives when this boat crashed off this set of islands in the North Sea. And a lot of the story is about her reacting to the newfound fame she gets, because even at the time the story spread really fast, and for the rest of her life people were writing letters to her and she was cutting off strands of her hair to give to them. The story itself, it is really nice, it is quite compelling. Like, the actual monster is fine, like there's a bit about the relationship with the sea which is nice. but I love the meta stuff. I love it. The story opens in like 2001 at this tiny museum, a real museum, where the Doctor is talking to a girl who is on a school trip, talking about Grace Darling, because he's trying to learn more about her as he's about to go back and participate in the story. Later, we meet that girl again in 2024, I think. She's looking at a plaque dedicated to Grace Darling in Battersea Park. She talks about, I went to this museum on a school trip, and, I think she is one of my ancestors because I'm from that area and I'm so proud of this, yada yada. That character is Emily Kirk. Like, it is just the author. Oh. Like, she has taken her own true experience of going to a tiny niche nearby museum on a school trip, which we've all done.
And probably daydreamed a bit about Doctor Who as we did it.
Yes.
Oh.
And she's taken that and broadcast that niche piece of British history to far more people. She hasn't gone, what will people like? It's like, what has resonated with me personally? And just beyond that as well, that the setting itself is great. Like,
yeah, George, that's great, but is it nautical? These days, the kids want to set sail.
It's not necessarily a nautical story. They're not trapped on a boat the entire time, but it's...
Oh, no, that deducts your points, George. Anyway, on to the next one. Bad terms. I'm not gonna harp on about bad terms. It's a long video. I also know that I don't need to, because I can get you in 2 elevator pitches. In story 1, the Doctor and Peri meet Saoirse of the Seven Seas. Irish pirate defending her homeland from the British on the seas. Still an exceedingly rare setting and topic for Doctor Who. Line up every single story about Irish history, and then get rid of all the ones that don't involve Britain. There's about 3. Over 60 plus years. It's mad. This story's great and I want to show it to everybody. Story 2. The Doctor and Peri investigate Eton. A fictional Eton, but there's aliens everywhere, in disguise, and the staff and the students. Huh? Little does the Doctor know, there's one student there who claims that Doctor Who is his dad. Huh? What do you mean by that, young man? Speak up. I loved both of these stories. They felt so transgressive. And they're perfectly paced with 3 parts apiece. It's a pirate's life for me. I was just looking up who wrote these stories. The first one is a new name to me, but the second one's Nev Fountain. The guy who apparently has written every story that I love, but I know nothing about him. Yeah, it's good to know that we actually do have preferences. It's not just a matter of like vibes and what mood we were in listening. No, there's different writers doing different things and I have preferences. If you could only buy one Big Finish story this year, you're probably gonna veer towards Jodie. I'm telling you, go to Colin. Baker and Bryant have the best dynamic over there at Big Finish. It's phenomenal what they do together as actors. And lastly, we have Jack Alexander, who I said could do another one, so long as he doesn't shout or hit me.
Hi everyone, it's Jack here from An Awful Lot of Running, a Doctor Who podcast, and upcoming fan audio, Doctor Who Red Twilight from 77 Years Productions, materialising 20th of November. Just missing the opportunity to be on this list. I'm sure Sam's just low-key insulted me, but that's fine because he's allowing me to once again contribute some praise towards some brilliant Doctor Who stories again. I, like many, was a bit irked that the third Doctor never got an on-screen Cyberman story. And I've always been a big fan of the Metal Boys. Still, many of their TV outings leave a bit to be desired. Ben, shut up, I can hear you from here. So for a Pertwee story, well, Tim Treadall's Pertwee, which fills me with the same enthusiasm and warmth, for a Pertwee story to tackle them in such a brutal, trippy and epic tale, already you've justified my purchase. The quintessence from Big Finish by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle takes the widowed Jo Jones, brilliantly performed by our favourite girl Katie Manning, and pits her with Treadall's Third Doctor in a story that has them go to hell and back again. When Jo receives a psychic message in the form of a dream, the Doctor and her investigate a strange Victorian manor house sitting almost impossibly on an alien world. Here, they meet a young girl, Emmeline Pepperdine, and her parents, Arthur and Lucy. Emmeline, who appears to have some form of enhanced psychic powers, has been calling out across time to draw Jo to see her, seeing her as a grandmotherly figure. But Jo isn't the only one she's calling out to, for in her bedroom is an oil painting, in which she sees angels. Only, these angels are moving. And you guessed it, before too long, a troop of Cybermen are stepping through to take her. What follows is an absolute Pertwee epic in a 6-part story that feels like a 4-parter. Every episode ends with a compelling cliffhanger drawing you back in. And you can be sure that this shit gets fucked up trippy, and it's nigh on full Cyberman horror, but it also pushes the Doctor and Jo's relationship in a way that we've never seen before. So yeah, best official story I experienced this year. Of course, the best story I read all year is the script for Red Twilight episode 4, which is called...
Yeah, alright, that's enough.
No! Don't play me off! Damn you, Sam! Ah!